Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, we are going to be doing some ripped masking today. Now, I want to try two different methods for this one, so to speak, because I want to have a focal point that is going to go, well, I'm going to need to work around it anyhow. So that's my plan. I have some mint tape today. Now, this is my mint tape. Scrapbook.com recently came out with a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch roll. And then the one on the left, the 1 inch roll, that has been out for some time. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, I have tried and tested all of the low tack tapes. I purchased so many, and this one by far was my favorite. So I have stuck with it and have happily enjoyed when there is usually up to 50% off very, very often on the Scrapbook.com website for this. I am enjoying the smaller sizes, I will say. Probably the 1/2 inch is my most used, but for today, I'm actually going to use the 1 inch wide, and we are going to be ripping this. So I'm tearing this, roughly in half, I would say. With ripping, of course, you're not going to get precision at all, and I just want to rip a little border, but then I'm also going to go through the center to create 4 panels, I guess, and this is going to be masking. Now, here we go. By all means, use what you have, whether that be post-it notes, whether that be copy paper that you've put some low-tack adhesive on the back. It could be any other masking brand out there. It could be actual masking paper. It could be the Gina K masking magic. It could be the waffle flower masking sheets. It could be anything. Just use what we have. That's what we're about here on this channel. And you could also have as many panels as you want to create on the front. Now, I have created 4 little spaces because this truly is a sort of use what you have card. We're going to pull things together here, team. I have the All and Create. This one is called the Anemone stamp set, number 980, and I will link this down below. I think it's only left on maybe the All and Create website was where I could find it last time. I popped this into my stamp platform. These are directly onto card bases at the moment, and in my stamp platform, I always have the Ultinew sticky mat. Now, this is not meant for the stamp platform, and it comes in a square, and I cut mine down. This is the first and only one that I've had to use in the, 6+ months that I've had it in my stamping platform. So it's lasting me a good amount of time. Now, speaking of masking, here is some Gina K masking magic because I am going to stamp the head of that flower. I am betting that I can get away with the rest of this flower here, but the head I feel like is just too big. So I'll do a little bit of masking. And as I said, we're going about this 2 different ways. So that's why there's 2 different cards. Number 1, I am going to stamp the image first. And number 2, we're going to essentially stamp the image later, if that makes sense. So let's give this a go. I want to have the image sort of a different color than the background inking and how I'm going to get away with that. So one tip that I do have when it comes to masking and things, I use the Gina K masking magic. I stamp on it and then I heat emboss with it. So I put my, I stamp with my VersaFine Onyx Black, and then I'm going to put some clear embossing powder, and then I heat set it, and it heat sets really, really quickly, and that gives my masks longevity because I want to keep them. If I'm going to the effort of going to fussy cut them out, then I'm going to keep them and put them back on the backing that you peel off them. I just put it right back on and put it in the back of the packaging of the stamp because I want to get as many uses out of that as possible, and heat embossing it seems to help with the longevity of those. Now, here we go. Number 1, I've put my masking on top of the stamped image, and the other one we have masked first. So I am putting the flower mask on top of that one. I've got Peach Bellini, Innocent Pink, Sweet Mango, and Wild Dandelion. Now, these are just 4 dye inks at this point, and it doesn't matter what you use. Pigment inks, dye inks, use what you have, oxides, hybrids, anything. But also, not even inks. Do watercolors, do acrylic inks watered down, do anything. Whatever makes you happy. Add some color. I'm coming in with a very light version here. So I just want a little bit of ink down because I'm going to use the same ink to get some sort of pattern over top. Now, I'm going to use a range of stamps and stencils to get this look. Mainly stamps for the first one. This is the Sparkle Strands background stamp. And as you can see, I'm just inking up just partially the top part of it. I'm using some copy paper to mask off the other sections just because I don't want to get ink where it shouldn't be. Remember, this one has the flower mask on top of it. So that one that I used with the colour up the top, I think it's actually the Peach Bellini I did up the top. Whatever you've got, just add a light layer of ink. And then I just went through a few of my stamps and got some out that I think I can use. This one is a beautiful old text, handwritten text from Woodware. This is an old stamp, but still my favourite. I will never get rid of this one. And I'm just using the exact same colour of ink to stamp and fill in those blanks. Now, I actually used the text one for the top and the bottom. Then I'm going to bring in the triangles, lined triangles background by All in Create, and that is going to, I'm just doing the very tippity top here, and then I'm going to do that one in the sort of orangey-ish colour. Now, I will remind you that I use, for my Gina K inks, I actually have 5 brushes that I use for all of the inks I have. Now, bearing in mind, I don't have all of the inks. I don't even have half of the inks of the collection. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But I only use like one yellow brush for kind of yellows and oranges, one red, one blues, and one green, and one purple maybe. But anyhow, and that does muddy the colours a little bit. I will say, I don't think it ruins my ink pads at all, but it does, you know, I'm not going to get as crisp and clear colour change results. So, you know, bear in mind that that is a little factor here. And actually, it's going to come into play in my next card that I create. That's okay with me. It's just the way I go. I'm happy having a few blending brushes. I'm happy with the colours. I'm happy that things aren't perfect like that, but it is something just to bear in mind. Then I'm going to use some alcohol markers. These are the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers. So there is 3 in my pack. Now, I have taken off my flower mask and 2 of the top masks there. So the leaves are all exposed. And the flower head. Now, I went over top of the, with the leaves, there was a little bit, and I just did it with my alcohol marker. It went over top of the yellow just fine, so I did plan to have the yellow there for that reason. And so this is card number 1, where I did do the masking for the flower head. Now, the second one we're not going to, and let's see how that goes. So this card was pretty fun to create actually, and I like the look of it. I like the finished look. So we're going to do the second one. I'm using Sea Glass, Light Orchid, and Wild Wisteria for this one. So we're changing it up to go with the pinks, purples, and sort of blues, I guess. So this is a great example. This is the Sea Glass ink, and I used it with my brush there, but actually look, when I put it directly down onto paper, look how different the color is. So I obviously have been using it with a different color blue before this, and I didn't get all of the ink off the brush before I put it into the Sea Glass. Again, I'm not too worried. It's not contaminating the ink pad too badly. It's not doing anything like that, so it's just fine. I used a makeup sponge to apply the ink directly from the ink pad, and we get a whole different colour, which is the original colour, the Sea Glass. So I have used the Tim Holtz Sparkle Fade colour up the top stencil. Then I used the Octo from Simon Says Stamp, and then this one is from Simon Hurley, and all of these are linked down below. If you're interested in checking them out, or you just want to take a closer look, or you want to go back and be like, what was it that she used? Then you're welcome to have a look down there. That is where everything is, all the links to everything, including my website, natashafootecreative.com. I have just launched my new year of card making. Last year I did the alphabet, the A to Z of card making. So there is an entire series there, and then I have just started my entire new 2025 series. There is also card making classes over there. There is also PDFs, free downloadables, free sentiment sheets you can download, lots of fun things. So that is natashafootecreative.com, and you can come and see me over there if you would like more Natasha content. Now, I also have my snail mail address where you can send me a letter or a card in the mail, and that always makes my week. Now, for the second card here, remember how I said the first one we did the masking, the second one we're just going to wing it and stamp right over top. So I've got my card in my stamp plan form. I stamp with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and of course you can see the stencil and the ink behind it. Now this time I'm going to use that leftover little bit of mask that we did from cutting out the mask to begin with. I add a little bit of 1/2 inch mint tape around there just so that I don't get ink anywhere it shouldn't be. And then I'm going to apply some ink over top of all of the other inking we have done. Now I will say that this flower ended up turning out way darker. I think that Wild Wisteria, when I applied the ink, was really, really dark. This was darker than I anticipated. However, when I ended up taking everything off, I kind of did like it. And I did add in some white highlights, and yeah, it actually looked fine. It was suited the purple down below, but 2 different ways to go about some ripped masking today. Of course, you could reuse that mint tape as well and keep going with more cards after that. I was experimenting with these 2 ways of doing it, and I would probably go the first way, but maybe that's just the colors that are swaying my opinion there. Now I go over, as I said, with a white highlights pen, but apart from that, these 2 cards are finished. So thank you so much for joining me today. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which method you would choose. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video.